When a lot of our viewers are thinking about debt, and it's not good debt, it's credit card debt. Okay. And when you're sitting down on a financial plan,
Never do that one.
that's the worst one you can do. And I have people all the time that say, well, I just want to make my minimum payments. That's not what we want to do.
No.
So if you're someone that may be in credit card debt that's listening, it happens. Okay.
You got to get that paid off.
Got to get that paid off fast. Okay. And look at which rates are the highest and pay those first. Example of that, though, and where I wanted to go with this is credit card companies aren't stupid. What do? They give you, no APR for 12 months, right?
Take it.
15 months. Take it. But you better make sure
that you're going to get that thing paid off.
You have that thing paid off in time, because a client of mine's son came in and they go, I got into trouble. I go, okay, what kind of trouble? It's like, well, I have a no APR card and I maxed it out. And I go, okay. I was like, what's the time frame? Let's figure out a payment plan to get it done. He goes, yeah, that was ended last month, and now it's at 21%. So it's not just credit cards, but there's a lot of things out there where it's no interest. And a guy like you and I, we look at that and we say, look in our chops. We want no interest.
No brainer.
It's great. I'll use free money all day long.
You go to Nebraska Furniture Mart. You go to the car dealership, right? I mean, now I will tell you a story. So I bought a new vehicle a couple of years ago, and they had a 0% APR. Okay, so no interest. And then I said, but what's the price of the car if I pay cash? Okay. And so they give me a different price if I pay cash. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have other financing options that I could get the same price for cash? And they said, yeah, 2.9. And I said, how long do I have to carry that loan for this reduced price at a 2.9% APR? They said, you have an early payment penalty if you pay it off within 3 months. And I said, okay. So I took the loan for 3 months. I saved like $5,000 on the vehicle at 2.9% for 3 months. And then I paid the freaking loan off. That's a no-brainer.
But one reason you were able to do that, though, you have good credit. And that's a whole part of this whole conversation we're having, too, is how important it is to have good credit. So, for instance, you made an example of Nebraska Furniture Mart. 3 or 4 years ago, when I furnished my new home, 0% on everything, right? TVs, bedding, all that. Why wouldn't I do that? Now, they have certain credit
you wouldn't do it unless you knew you could pay it off in the period, because you got to pay that thing off within like 12 months or 13 months or 15 months or whatever. You got to make sure that you got the cash to do that.
And that all goes back to discipline, though.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing with debt and leverage. I think if there's one word that describes if you're going to use it or not, it's, are you disciplined? Can you put yourself a budget together to get this done? It doesn't matter what it is. But my example with that was you had to have above a certain credit score to do it. And that's what people don't understand of how important credit is. You and I talk with our clients all the time about, hey, put your kids on your credit cards, right? Start building credit for them early on.
Right.
Don't let them have a credit card until they're making good financial decisions. But credit and the value of good credit, because once it's not good and you've had some issues, it's very, very hard to come back from. And then you're not having the same type of luxuries that you're describing with the cars and those type of things.
And on the flip side of that, Logan, think about what some of the credit card companies do. They will give you cash back. They will give you points towards certain things.
There's people that make careers writing about, hey, you can get this credit card this month if you have good credit, and then you cancel it. Now, that's a lot of work. I'm not going to go do that. You're probably not going to go do that, but it's powerful.
But I will tell you this. I have not paid for an airline ticket in probably 10 years.
That means you spend too much money.
No, I just don't. I don't pay for airline tickets. I fly my kids where I want to go. I fly, my wife where I want to go. Because what I did was I went out and got a Southwest visa, and I got a high enough credit limit. And I literally put every single thing that I can on that card. Why do I do that? Because I like to travel. I like to do things. I like to be able to bring my kids along. And if I put all of these expenses on the credit card, now, by the way, I pay that thing off in full every single month. I never, ever have been charged 1 penny of interest on this credit card. But by using that credit card, I am now flying all the time with no cost. I'm flying my kids with no cost. And
your cost would be huge if you were flying the kids and significant others.
Right. I mean, so that to me, I don't consider that debt. I consider it a different way to pay for things.
Good point. And I preach this often is I tell everyone, I don't care how old you are. If you have a job, put things on a credit card, one for the perks and points, but more importantly, and I see this with clients all the time, is, well, we got $15,000, maybe it was a small inheritance, and it's just sitting in our checking account. And I say, move that from your checking account now. That's your money, okay? Someone gets your debit card, online scams, it's prevalent every single day now. Credit card, that's the credit card company's money, okay? So why would you ever leave your money at risk like that? It just doesn't make sense for me. Now, if you have spending, if you have the inability to control spending,
even no discipline.
No discipline, right? Going back to that word, it makes sense to use a debit card, okay?
Right.
But as long as you have discipline it's not that hard now. You can set it all on auto pay. And then as long as the money's in there, you don't have to worry about it. That's something that I do see though with a lot of some of our older clients is they just don't think about it because they say, I don't like credit cards. Why?
Right.
Starting your route to retirement.